Hi everyone, welcome to the campus safety session. My name is Melanie and today we'll be hearing from Chief Mike Del Greco. He's the director of the Merrimack Police Department. If you have any questions, there will be a Q&A portion at the end if time permits. If your question is not answered during the presentation, then please ask your question then. And at the bottom of your screen, there's a Q&A feature at the bottom and you'll be able to type in your question. And I would now like to turn it over to Chief Del Greco.
Great, thank you, Melanie. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Merrimack College's orientation. I can't wait for this to be in the fall, where I can certainly interact on a on a human level with you all. But this is a pretty good second fiddle to what we normally would do. But a little bit about our department. We're comprised of 30 men and women here in this department. All of our officers have a minimum of an associate's degree or better in criminal justice, as well as the police academy. There is no difference in the level of training that our officers receive than that of any other police officer in the state of Massachusetts. Matter of fact, because we are on a private campus, our what they call powers of arrest come from the state police. So we're technically special state police officers. So we certainly comply with all the annual recertification standards, for example, firearms, OC, baton, handcuffing, legal updates, less lethal, all those kind of options that any other officer is afforded to in the state, we certainly comply with. So just to give you a little context about the population of the campus on any given time. So we have about 4,500 undergrad students, commuter students, grad students, night students. When you add the amount of faculty and staff that we have on campus on any given day, we could have upwards of 5,000 people here on campus on any given day. On, say, a weekend night, a Friday, Saturday, when you have a football game, hockey game, basketball game, any other event on campus, you can almost double that to almost 10,000 people here on campus on a weekend night. You compare that number of people to the 351 towns and cities in the state of Massachusetts, so we rank about 173rd, meaning we're somewhere in the middle of a good size population of a town. With those numbers, my responsibility and the responsibility of the police department is to ensure that we provide a safe environment where everyone can learn freely and is safe to do so in any sort of environment, whether it's day, night, and they feel comfortable and in doing so. A little bit about our department, as I was saying earlier. So we are set up in an organizational structure like any other police department. I have a deputy chief, lieutenants, sergeants, patrol officers, dispatchers. On any given shift, we run at least one supervisor, a sergeant or better, 2 officers and a dispatcher. On a Friday, Saturday night, we generally double the amount of patrol officers, and the reason being is that we have a lot of weekend activities that we have on campus. We certainly want to have the students feel that they can partake in events here on campus without having to go home or off campus kind of thing. So on any given weekend night, you know, there's karaoke night, bands, DJs, that kind of thing. So a lot of activities to keep students entertained here on campus on a weekend night. How to reach us, where we're located? We're located at the rear of the Monacan Center. So if you've been on campus or if you're familiar with the campus, if you're familiar with the campus center, which is located around the middle of campus, if you proceed further down the end of the roadway from the campus center, you'll see the Monacan building directly to your right. If you go around that service road behind that, that's where you're located. Feel free to take down this number or snap a photo of this slide. This is how to reach us. These numbers are all recorded except for that last number. That last number is my office number directly. It goes directly to me. I don't have an admin assistant that answers the phone or filters my calls or anything like that. You can certainly feel free to call me at any time during the academic year, really anytime if you have a question or concern. And you can certainly email me as well. My email is the same as your students will be. So it's my last name, Del Greco, M as in Mary, @merrimack.edu. We are a 24/7, 365 department. We run 3 shifts, similar to other departments, but a little different that we have is we have a half-hour cover shift. So for example, the day shift, 7 a.m. to 3:30, the mid shift, 3 to 11:30, and the night shift, 11 to 7:30. I run that half-hour overlap so that there's more of a consistent level of service. There's no interruption. Say, so for example, if it was 7 to 3, 3 to 11, at 3 o'clock, the day shift comes in, and the 3 o'clock shift before they go out, are getting roll call, and kind of there's really no one out on the road for the 15 or 20 minutes or so. So I build in that half hour, so it's a good overlap and a continuation of service. We have, you'll see the photos on the bottom of this slide. We have 4 marked units, 1 unmarked unit, 6 patrol bikes, and on weather permitted days and nights, you'll see officers out on foot patrol. A lot of our officers get to know students by face, name. I tell anyone that comes to work here or works here that, yes, you're a police officer first, but you're also a parent ad litem, you're a counselor, you're a doctor. We're a lot of things to the members of the community here. And this is not something that has been done recently. This has been my philosophy since being chief 8 years now. I've been with the department 23 years. I started as an on-call officer, worked my way up the ranks. So I certainly know and have performed all of the functions of a sergeant, a lieutenant, the deputy chief, chief. So there's nothing that I do or say that I haven't done or expect our officers to do the same. We are an accredited police department. What does that mean? That means that we follow approximately 326 standards that are put in place by the Mass Police Accreditation Commission. That is a commission comprised of some police officers, but primarily civilian groups that create best practices for police departments. Like I was saying, this is not something that I have been doing recently just because of current police optics that are going on across the nation today. You'll see that back in 2010, we wanted to strive for accreditation. The first part of the process is certification. That means that we begin to develop these standards along with the Mass Police Accreditation Commission. We begin to implement them. Then in 2011, we show that we have followed them for that first year through documentation, through the commission members being here on campus for 3 days, assessing the various shifts, how they operate, and that they're following those standards. So in 2011, we became accredited. That accreditation is good for 3 years. So every 3 years, the commission sends a group of assessors back here for 3 days to reassess our department to ensure that we are still maintaining those standards set forth by the commission. So in 2014, we were reaccredited. 3 years later, in 2017, reaccredited. And just recently in February, we went through our 3rd reaccreditation. So it's certainly a feather in our cap for our department, as well as the college, and as well as for you and the students that are attending this institution. I believe at the time when we received our first accreditation, we were only one of 8 colleges in Massachusetts to achieve accreditation. I think now we're somewhere around, don't quote me, 20-ish or so. Our responsibilities, I like to say that we do everything from lockouts to lockdowns. Aside from the routine patrol that we do, we perform our own investigations on campus, prosecutions, arrests here on campus, which we have very few of, and I'll go into that in a further slide. We certainly check buildings. We go through residence halls, that kind of thing, as a walk and talk. We do all that fun stuff that everyone loves, parking and traffic enforcement. All our officers are first responders. What does that mean? That means that they're kind of one level beneath an EMT. So we certainly respond immediately to any calls of medical first aids, slip and fall accidents, broken bones, that kind of thing, medical suicidal ideations as well. And certainly if we need further medical care, we certainly call the local fire department. For those of you that may not know, we are divided in between 2 towns, the town of North Andover and Andover. That certainly respond to assist should we be needed, and they both have ambulance service, as well as around the corner, Route 125, we have a state police barracks. So we are certainly well surrounded by additional law enforcement and medical agencies should we need them. We also have 2 very good hospitals in the area. Literally, I think a 5-minute drive down 114 off of 495 is Lawrence General Hospital. Lawrence General Hospital is a level 1 trauma center, an excellent hospital, as well as a little further down on 495, 1 or 2 exits further from that is the Holy Family Hospital, used to be called Bon Secours Hospital. Very good hospital as well, but they also have a specialized psych unit. So for anyone that is experiencing or in need of or experiencing a mental health crisis, they are the primary hospital that we would send anyone to. We perform safety escorts here on campus. What does that mean? For an example, we have two buildings that are open 24/7 here on campus, the campus center as well as the library. So if anyone is uncomfortable, really anytime, day, but especially at night, and they're not comfortable walking back from wherever their location are on campus to their residence hall, they just call us and we certainly meet them where the location that they're at, pick them up and escort them back to their residence hall. We do a mandatory active shooter emergency preparation training at the beginning of each year. I will get into that a little further down in the presentation. We also do a rape aggression defense. That is a 12-hour course. If you Google that, RAD is the acronym, rape aggression defense. It's a nationally recognized personal safety presentation. Like I was saying, it's a 12-hour course. You're not meant to be or expected to be in any sort of physical shape to participate in this program. This is based on using your body mechanics to fend off an attack. It's not meant for you to go 15 rounds with someone. It is to create distance from the incident or the attack, create that distance, leave the area, and call for help. There's also a shuttle service that we provide here on campus that goes back and forth. I believe it's every 15 or 30 minutes across the way to additional housing across the street at the Royal Crest Apartment Complex, as well as for those that do not have a car or will not have a car on campus, it provides a service that will go down to Market Basket. It'll go down to the Loop, what it's called. There's a movie theater there, also as well as those that want to go to Market Basket or some off campus shops, Panera Bread, that kind of thing, to go and grab some other essentials that may need, or to go to some off-campus venues for entertainment. The active shooter. So what we do is we train faculty and staff minimally once a semester, all students minimally once a semester, and that's by choice, but it's mandatory for all incoming students in the fall during our fall presentation. This was us back in 2018 when we actually held one of the training. They're generally in different venues, but we hosted this in 2018. Again, it's to prepare our officers as well as students in what to do during a crisis situation in which an active shooter is involved. The model that we train is the avoid, deny, defend method. Basically kind of teaching to survive an event and the mentality that you should have to survive an event. One of the things that I go through during the presentation is if you don't know what to do in a situation, you don't know what to revert to. But similar to going through a police academy, if it's something that you've been trained and you work with a little bit, your mind in a crisis situation will revert back to that training that you've learned. So you will retain some knowledge during this. And again, we give it every year and twice a year, and there's no limit as to how many times you can attend this training. So just a little bit about what we do teach. So avoid. Always know your escape routes from a location. Be vigilant of strangers or any sort of event. Know the nearest exit. I give the example of anytime I go out to dinner or so, which hasn't been, I guess, for the last couple of months, but whenever I do go out to dinner, that kind of thing, I will always ask to either sit by a wall where I can see the entrance, or in an area where I know where the quickest exit is. For those that know me here on campus, anytime I attend a meeting here on campus, I'll always position myself in that meeting room where, again, my back is either to the door, to a wall where I can face the door. I can see any threat that might be coming my way. I'll know any possible secondary exit means what to do, or if there was something bad to happen. The second part is deny. So if you can't avoid a bad situation, deny entry to that situation. Well, how do you do that? Well, if you're in a classroom and you hear something bad coming your way, or someone wants to do harm, you use whatever you have to deny that entry to your room. So you stack up the tables and chairs against the door, cabinets, anything else that you may have to deny that entry to the door. One of the questions I receive is, well, if you're making all this kind of noise by defending or trying to deny that doorway from being breached, doesn't the bad person hear you? The answer is yes. But statistics show that a bad person typically will not spend the time to push or move through all those barricades that you put in place to try to get to you. They will move on to the next soft target. So they may move on to the next classroom down the hall or another floor kind of thing. And then again, that'll give you that time to call for help or find a secondary means of escape. If those first two items fail, then it's defend. You have every right to defend yourself against a person that wants to do harm to you. What do? Anything. Throw chairs, fire extinguishers, backpacks, anything you have on them. The pack mentality, getting back to what I was saying about training at a police academy. One of the questions I ask when it comes to the part where you defend is, I'll ask, how many people have ever been in a fight, an actual, fist fight? And some people, they'll raise their hands, and I'll say, how long do you think you last during that fight? Some say, 10, 15 minutes. I'll say, wrong. And some will say, 2 to 3 minutes. Correct. That's the answer. So it's 2 to 3 minutes. That's why also boxers only go 2 to 3 minutes before the bell rings, and they have that time out to recoup in between rounds. The reason why it's 2 to 3 minutes is that you're not breathing properly. What I tell them, and they teach us at the academy as well, as to force yourself to breathe, is to verbalize. So someone's coming in, they've breached that deny part, and they're coming into the room. Is you're yelling, get back, get away, get back, get back, get back. Just using that verbalization forces you to breathe and increases your stamina to continue on to fight off an attack. That pack mentality, you get together. Again, once this is in your mind, it's in your head, and you keep thinking about it every day when you go into a room, avoid, deny, defend, that pack mentality, okay, I'm going to, the three of us are going to jump on, the person's back. You grab, whatever's in his hand, a gun, a knife, anything like that. That also verbalization also distracts a person. So that person coming in looking to do harm, aside from forcing you to breathe that verbalization, it also distracts them. So temporarily takes them off what they're doing, gives you, again, those extra few seconds to do what you have to do to defend yourself. Emergency preparedness as well. We'll get into what our emergency notification is, but certainly what to do during a major storm on campus. That photo was taken on campus during a power failure, what to do, how to access the CAF for food, where to go to charge cell phones, that kind of thing. So we certainly prepare and advise students on what to do during those types of situations. These next 2 slides are pretty important. I believe they may be in your handout, but again, feel free to document or snap a photo of these slides. So our emergency notification is the Rave Alert system. Every student enrolled in the college is automatically enrolled. So if I were to send a text right now saying that there's a thunderstorm coming here in the area, which it looks like it is, seek shelter, that kind of thing, it'll go out to right now about 5,850 people here on campus. It's up to your student to go onto that URL that you see up there, getrave.com, log in Merrimack, and they can add up to 4 additional contacts. So if you want to be on that contact, a brother, sister, parent, grandparent, uncle, whoever you want to be on that contact, your student has to go in there and add those contacts. And in those contacts, they can add cell phone, email address, that kind of thing. So when your student gets a Rave Alert, you'll get one. We don't use Rave Alerts for normal communication. That's what the college email is for. Last name, first name @merrimack.edu. We want it to be so that when someone receives a Rave Alert, it's, oh my gosh, I really need to pay attention to this because it's something important. We don't want to minimize the effect of using that Rave Alert. You'll see in red on the bottom of the slide, face groups are not a formal line of communication. Though we have parent face group and some other Facebook groups, those aren't the official communication. So though you may hear of things that may be going on, the only official communication you're going to get in an emergency is through the Rave and or the Office of Communications, our college email account. Facebook groups are not the formal means of our communication. This next part of Rave it's excellent. We put this into place about 3 years or so ago. So this is a free app that the college pays for that everyone has to opt in. So even though you're a student, because it's an app, you have to just do a free download. And again, you log into that URL, same URL that's down there. This is what your screen would look like on your phone, if you have an iPhone. Some of the good features on this, you'll see the green tab is a submit a tip. So anytime, day or night, that you think that, or your student thinks that there is something suspicious going on, they may have seen something bad that probably should be addressed, that kind of thing. They don't have to leave their name if they necessarily don't want to. They can just submit a tip. That tip goes right to our dispatch center that can say, whatever, I saw 2 people fighting and one looks like they're hurt and needs help, kind of thing, and they're in front of the library. And an officer will be dispatched immediately. The other good feature is this orange tab, or yellowish tab, safety timer. So those two buildings that I was telling you about, they're open 24 hours, just as an example. So if I'm a student, my roommate is, Billy, and I tell Billy, yep, I'm gonna go to the library, I'm gonna study till about 2 in the morning. I can set that safety timer on my app to say that, by 2 a.m., if I don't shut that safety timer, I can have Billy notified. It doesn't have to be one of the 4 contacts that are on my Rave Alert. I can have anyone do the safety timer. So if I say to Billy, or if I tag Billy in my safety timer, say, yep, if I'm not back by 2 a.m. and disable that alarm, it'll ping Billy and says, hey, Mike didn't come back from the library. He was supposed to be back at 2 a.m. Hopefully this will have Billy look for me, or more importantly, have the police say, hey, my roommate was supposed to be back at 2 a.m. and he hasn't come back. The good thing about that is it lessens the chance that Billy falls asleep, wakes up in the morning and says, oh my gosh, Mike didn't come back at 2 a.m. like was supposed to, so we don't lose those, 6, 7, 8 hours of time that we can go out and look for me that hasn't returned back to my room. Continuing on with some of the good safety features that we have around campus, we have about 8 to 10 of these 10, I think 10 right now, of these freestanding blue light phones. The other 15 or so are wall mounted on the exterior of the resident halls as well as academic buildings. What's good about all the boxes, including the freestanding ones, have this emergency call button. So that red button, you push that red button, it'll immediately go to dispatch. You can talk to dispatch. If whatever event is going on, you're unable to talk, the dispatch center will know from what phone you are calling from. So say this particular phone, if you hit that button in dispatch, it'll say, South Residence emergency phone. A dispatch will automatically dispatch a cruiser or an officer to that area, as well as any cameras that are in that area. The dispatcher, if it's not already focusing on that phone, the dispatcher can manually focus a camera that's closest to that area. Similarly, with these standing blue light phones, aside from at night, you can see these the light on the top being well lit. Around the top are 4 speakers on every side of this. What that speaker enables us to do is to send an audio message specific to that area. So say, for example, there was a group of kids out here or in the stadium where there's one of these blue light phones, and like I was saying, there's a thunderstorm that looks like it's approaching here. If it's just to this area, I can send a message to this area, to the stadium, or to all the blue light phones on campus, indicating that there's a storm coming, seek shelter, rather than sending a Rave Alert that'll go out to 6,000 people where only 200 might be affected by the message. This is just a section of what our dispatcher center looks like. Right now, we have somewhere in the vicinity of 192 cameras around campus. These cameras are in parking lots. They are in all the first-year resident areas on the inside in the foyer area, and they are externally on the upper class, because the upper class resident areas don't necessarily have a lobby area, but they're mostly on the outside of the entrance of their exterior doors. None of these cameras face down any hallways or invade in any privacy or whatsoever. These are all common areas. What's good about this as well is that working hand in hand with the cameras is that the student swipe card that gives them access to the buildings and or their dorms have a history attached to that. So for example, I swipe into my residence in Deegan West, it'll say Mike Del Greco swiped in at, on 6/24 at 1:15 p.m. So it keeps a history too. So if we had to look back on an incident that we're investigating, we can see when someone may have swiped in, and then we can get an idea as well of who came in right around the time that that incident occurred. We also send out timely warnings. What is a timely warning? It's an advisement to the community of an unsafe or an immediate threat going on. So for example, 5 or 6 years ago, we had a rash of thefts in one of the resident halls of laptops. At the time, we didn't identify a suspect. We had since then, but we were receiving a couple of reports a day for a couple of days of laptops that were being stolen. So that is not the common occurrence to have occurred. So we send out a timely warning, say, hey, we've now received reports of 4 laptops that was stolen within 2 days. Please keep your doors locked, report anyone suspicious, don't let anyone piggyback into your residence hall if you don't know them, those kinds of warnings. That's a timely warning. If we know that Mike Del Greco was involved, he's a student and he's involved in the theft and we're looking for him, that's not necessarily a timely warning because we know who the person is that we're looking for. So a timely warning is, again, for an ongoing threat. We don't have a suspect. Someone was, robbed of a wallet or so, and we have a description but not a person. We would send out a warning. Hey, we just received a report of someone who's described as X, involved in a theft. Incidentally, getting back to that laptop theft, I've been here 23 years now. I've yet to have to investigate a case where someone physically broke in to a residence hall and stole something. Anytime a piece of property has gone missing, it was due to someone that leaves a door open, pegged, they don't feel like taking the keys with them and they don't lock it, and I call it the crime of opportunity. Someone walks by, an open door, pegged door, they see that no one's in there, they see a laptop or a wallet, and when things do go missing, that's generally the reason why they got missing. It was just a door that was left unlocked. I mean, we all want to trust our fellow students here on campus, but we do allow guests here on campus. Not saying that they're always involved in that, but we also, to the point of guests, we also have a very good guest policy here on campus. We certainly encourage students to have guests here on campus, but we do require guests to be signed in. And if they have a vehicle on campus that we know about the vehicle, they are put in a certain parking area for guest parking. The student host is always responsible to be with that guest at all times. And anytime, or should the guest violate the law or the campus policy, the student is held accountable. So though we encourage students to have guests on campus, that student is responsible for the actions of their guest. And they're held accountable if the guest violates any policies here on campus. Some of our safety programs, I talked about the RAD, our active shooter training. We do presentations in the fall, again, to your students that are coming here, as well as a reminder to all the other students that are here on campus. We talk to the athletes, we talk to student involvement, we talk to the new RAs that are here, the resident assistants, through training that we have with Residence Life. We do Operation ID, so if there's any piece of property that your student would like engraved, we can certainly engrave it here with any sort of numerical figure, symbol, or anything. The only thing that we would not put on the property is certainly personally identifying information such as birth dates or social security numbers or anything like that. Community engagement. I hate the word, and I never use the word community policing. Our officers, as I said earlier, get to know a lot of our students by face name. They'll know what teams they play on, if they do, any sort of clubs that they're part of, that kind of thing. We regularly attend meetings in residence halls with the resident advisors, floor meetings when we're asked to attend to. That is a police motorcycle that we do have here on campus. And our next slide, I'll get the big awe. We have a comfort dog. This is Mary, our comfort dog. She will begin full-time with us in September. She's been training. She has been in training for a year. She will know 60 or so commands. She is not a bomb dog. She is not a drug-sniffing dog. She is literally a comfort dog trained to alleviate stress during an encounter with an officer and a student that may be experiencing homesickness, the breakup of a relationship, maybe some suicidal ideation. So as the officer is trying to de-escalate the situation, if the student would like to have the dog patrols with the officer, that dog would also go and assist. And some of the training that we've seen, when the officer is asking questions, you'll actually see that the student will be talking to the dog. The officer will ask the question, the student is answering the dog. So it's fabulous. And what we've heard from other departments that have the dog, it's an incredible addition to the department. As you can see, she's already acclimating to the community. This was last year during a name reveal party for the dog. We certainly, again, support all the events and are present on all the large-scale events here on campus: commencement, homecoming, reunion, spring weekend, concert, all that kind of stuff. The training collaboration that I was telling you about, we certainly train with Residence Life, with the resident assistants, how to best answer calls that they may get, especially during a weekend night or so, where students kind of let their hair down a little bit, and rightfully so. Hopefully they study hard and play hard, kind of thing. Orientation, again, during the fall orientation, We do alcohol, drug use and abuse presentation, as well as sexual assault awareness and prevention. We're not a clandestine department where with the police department, we don't answer to anyone. We like to think that we are certainly part of your students' academic experience here on campus. If I'm here just to enforce laws and make arrests, I'd work out of town. Like I said, I've been here 23 years and I certainly enjoyed every part of it. If I didn't like it, I can certainly go, like I said, to a municipal town and be a bad guy. Our training collaborations, like I was saying, we're affiliated with the state police. We certainly do our joint training certifications through them. We do our online training with them as well. We certainly keep up with all the latest in legal updates. We host Cobweb, which is bike training here on campus. We have 5 officers that are certified bike riders as well. We host training here. We get 3 free spots every year, so we get to train additional officers. In this area, the Merrimack Valley, local agencies, they do their dog recertification here. And what's good about that is that, you know, they train here, we train in their building. So again, one hand washes the other. So it's pretty good. We train with each other. A lot of our officers know officers in other departments. Officers that leave here and go to other departments are still local. We have 4 officers in the Andover Police Department that used to work here, 2 of which were actually even students here. We have 5 in North Andover. We have 4 in state police, 1 in Manchester, New Hampshire, 1 in Derry, New Hampshire, 1 in Durham, New Hampshire. So they're all around here, and they still have very fond memories of beginning their career here with the Merrimack College Police Department. So it's always good to hear as a chief that of these success stories. Our affiliations, Mass Association of Campus Law Enforcement Administrators. This is a good association that we're a part of. So this is basically an association of area campus law enforcement agencies. So we generally meet every month at a different campus, a different college, and we talk about kind of best practices, what trends they're seeing on their campuses, what we could probably expect coming to see on our campus. NESPIN, the New England State Police Information Network, it's an information sharing network of local crime that's going on. Again, trends that either we need to know about or that's happening in the area in real time. So anything that the local police know in real time, we know in real time as well. The International Association of Campus Law Enforcement Administrators, that's just a junket. It's an international association that I never get to go on trips on that, but we're part of that. And again, more importantly, that Mass Police Accreditation Commission that we've been a part of since 2010. Again, welcome. I can't wait to see you all in person. I will see if we have any questions right now, as we have. Let's see. Well, we're just a couple of minutes over. I'll try to answer any questions that we may have. Do we welcome wellness checks? Absolutely. We get wellness checks from Residence Life if they haven't seen a student a day or so, an RA will check out. But parents certainly have called us, and we certainly welcome a call. So if you're expecting a call from your student and you haven't heard from them back in, you know, whatever time normally you would, certainly feel free to call us and, you know, tell us who you are, you know, what parent you are. And, you know, my son or daughter lives in, you know, Deegan 101. I haven't heard from him or her in, you know, a day, and, you know, they were supposed to call me. We have absolutely no problems doing that. I appreciate the thank you. With all that's going on in the world, like I said, I'm proud to say that though we always look at best practices, there's nothing I need to do immediately to change the way that we operate. Like I said, I certainly hope that we are part of, in a positive way, your son or daughter's educational experience here on campus. And we certainly are involved. We don't just answer a call when we get there. We like to be out there to prevent the situation as well as interact, again, in a positive way. Though we are here to certainly enforce, you know, the policies here on campus to keep everyone safe. I don't see any other questions. I know we're kind of a little late. So if there are any further questions, like I said, feel free to call me, email me, and I will turn it back over to Melanie. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Chief. We would now like to invite you all to join us at the next family session, the Mental Health Matters session at 2:15. You'll hear from mental health clinicians, Erin and Brian from Hamel Health and Counseling Center. The link can be found in your email as well as the orientation landing page, and I'll also put it in the chat box if you need it. Thank you all for your time and enjoy the rest of your day.